I would advise you to actually ignore J and P when it comes to truly typing the accurate personality type, not just what is a trait that can change over time. I'm pretty sure that almost everyone who has a fearful avoidant attachment style will mistype themselves as INFJ. Whether that is true or wrong doesn't even matter. They will just type as INFJ because it fits with that stereotype. Welcome to Typevolution. This video is going to be about my unpopular opinions in regards to MBTI and the 16 personalities. I'm Olympia. I've been typing people, aka assessing their personalities. I've been coaching people, and I've also been low-key obsessed with personality type theory for the last 10 years. I have written blog articles, etc., etc. I've made videos. You can find everything in the description box based on my experience and my observations and etc., etc. I've come to these opinions. You can also say these are hot takes. Here we go. Let's start off with the juiciest take, which is you are most likely not INTJ or INFJ. So why am I saying this? There is an obscenely high amount of people typing themselves as INFJ or INTJ in MBTI, in the community, in the system, whatever you want to call it. At least when it comes to self-typings. I'm not sure if it is as bad when they get assessed by MBTI people who have a certificate. By the way, I don't have a certificate, and it's because of the stuff I'm going to talk about in this video. I just disagree with too many things to get a certificate, and I also just learned it by myself. That's why I don't do the official MBTI typings. There's too many people mistyping themselves as these types. I blame also just the marketing of it, the presentation of the types is leading to this. When you say something is rare or special, then of course most people will want to be that type. They think, oh, I am rare, I'm special, right? Or the fact that, okay, I feel left out in life, I feel isolated, so that must mean I'm an INFJ. It's just wrong in my opinion, or it's not a good thing to do that, to make that kind of advertisement. It's misleading people too much. It's leading to too many mistypes, too many inaccuracies. People don't even go into what the type is really about, how the type really functions. They just stay on the surface level. And yeah, and it just doesn't do any good. It's just useless, to be honest. It's just stupid. I don't know. It's a big annoyance. A lot of people who go into personality type theory have what is considered an insecure attachment style and a fearful avoidant attachment style, to be specific. This attachment style is the rarest in society, and it is usually characterized by turbulence. I'm going to talk about that more in a bit later, and not being able to form healthy relationships with people, having strong emotional reactions and things like that. And basically, I'm pretty sure that almost everyone who has a fearful avoidant attachment style will mistype themselves as INFJ. Whether that is true or wrong doesn't even matter. They will just type as INFJ because it fits with that stereotype. The door slam is this concept where the quote-unquote INFJ gets to the point where they cannot give anymore. They feel like they've been taken advantage of, or the other person has been treating them badly, and then they just cut them off cold turkey and just end the relationship or whatever it is. And this is actually stereotypical fearful avoidant behavior. This has nothing to do with being an INFJ, and this is one of the biggest misconceptions and pet peeves I've come across when it comes to the theory. And this also really underlines my impression that a lot of INFJ stereotypes are just fearful avoidant stereotypes. When we want to look at, okay, is INFJ actually the rarest type? First of all, that is extremely hard to measure or estimate because it's not a science. Now, yeah, the MBTI is like a procedure and people are getting typed in that, and yeah, we have some numbers from that. I think they are more or less accurate, sort of, but there are also differences between the genders, like between male, female. So it depends, basically. And a lot of people also obsess over being an intuitive type, an N type, and saying that's so rare, that's so special, but the truth of the matter is that there are probably N types that are more common than certain S types. For example, it seems like INFPs are more common than ESTPs. Yeah, I think there can be some truth to the fact that some types are going to be more rare than other types. I'm not saying that's false per se, but I think it is very misleading and very bad actually to make it a key feature of a type. And when I just type in INFJ in Google and look at the first videos that pop up in Google search, it's about how INFJ is the rarest type. It's still an issue, and I just wished it would die, to be honest. I think in all of my personality type descriptions on my blog, nowhere do I mention which types are more common or less common, because it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't really matter when it comes to identifying what your type is. It's just going to be more misleading. If you are typing yourself as INFJ or INTJ, and even if, let's say, you've taken a bunch of online tests and you always get INFJ or you always get INTJ, then still you should really scrutinize your result. And honestly, the only way to really get a good insight is to either get a different opinion, like from someone like myself, getting some extra outside opinions, having someone type you. I also have typing services. Or just really scrutinizing the type and really testing it and really going more deeply into the theory. That's really the only thing to solve it. Otherwise, you're most likely going to be mistyped. And I also have a blog article about the most common MBTI mistypes and which types are more likely yours. So you can also check that out. I will also put that in the description box. Next point, which kind of ties into it a little bit, the entire concepts of perceiving and judging P and J are BS. Okay, maybe not entirely BS, but they are grossly misrepresented and misused. And they are basically just a bad iteration of conscientiousness from the Big Five. So especially the 16 Personalities websites, they have been really trying to make MBTI more scientific by basically making it more like the Big Five. And one big aspect of that is the whole conscientiousness thing. To be fair, I think MBTI has done that as well, and also Socionics. Conscientiousness can be changed, can be learned, can be improved, can be raised. And that's why I don't like this as a key personality type indicator. I think it's a personality trait, but it is a trait that you can adopt. It's a trait you can boost. It's a trait you can change entirely. So that's why I don't think it's really part of personality type. J types are the ones who are going to be basically successful because they are the ones who can make plans. They are the ones who can keep a job. Basically, they are the ones who make things happen, who finish things, who, are basically conscientious individuals. And on the flip side, P types are just usually considered to be lazy, considered to be messy, disorganized, basically don't know what to do with themselves, cannot plan in the future at all, right? They only live in the moment. They always want to keep their options open, etc., etc. And that's just false, okay? There are also P types who are highly driven, highly successful, especially ESFPs are often the ones who attain high levels of success because they are really obsessed with success. They want to be successful, usually. So they often end up being successful. And ESFPs are perceiving types, right? And they might be flexible in some ways, and they are not going to be the same like ESFJ or ESTJ, but still, they can be organized, they can be clean, they can be structured. And people are going to be like, what? No, this means you must be J. No, it's wrong, okay? I would actually tell people, totally ignore the P and J thing. If you are new to MBTI or the personality types, I would advise you to actually ignore the whole concepts of P and J because they are just conscientiousness. And a lot of times people say, oh, I was a P type and I became a J type. And that's just because the person grew up they matured, they became more conscientious. People become more conscientious as they age. And yeah, you know, like you need to be conscientious to hold a job, to be successful, etc. So I would advise you to actually ignore J and P when it comes to truly typing the accurate personality type, not just what is a trait that can change over time. Oh man, okay. Let me go into it already, okay. Turbulent. Turbulent is not personality, turbulence is trauma, okay. Turbulent, the T in the 16 personalities test results stands for trauma, all right? Sorry to say that, but it's the truth. And trauma is not personality type. I talk a lot about that actually in my course, Emotional Ease. People who struggle with a lot of reactivity, a lot of neuroticism, a lot of negative emotions, a lot of negative thoughts, they have that because they've been traumatized in the past, okay? And yeah, basically the T, the turbulent thing, is also from Big Five once again, and this stands for the neuroticism. There have been a few correlations between women being more neurotic or being more scared, you could say, or anxious. They are weaker physically. They can get pregnant, which would also have quite a toll on their livelihood if, I don't know, if they don't have enough food, etc. So women, just biologically speaking, are gonna be more vulnerable, and in turn this vulnerability can increase anxiety to some extent. So there is a bit of that component. Even if the woman is not traumatized, she will feel more vulnerable. So she will probably feel a little bit more anxious in certain situations compared to men. However, it's not a personality type, being a woman. I mean, it does influence how your personality type will express itself and what it will focus on to some extent. But at the end of the day, yeah. So besides this little thing, this little fact, overall, high turbulence, high emotional reactivity is just a sign of trauma. And I find it comical, once again, that the 16 personalities test is including that in their assessment. Once again, they just want to make it seem or look more like Big Five. They want to make it more legit. The danger you also do with that is when people identify themselves with that, if they identify as turbulent, let's say, or as neurotic, then, well, what's the point in a way? Like, the thing is, when you identify yourself with something, it becomes hard to change that thing because your identity is tied into it. So yeah, just please ignore the whole turbulence thing. Once again, it's kind of stupid. I mean, if you are neurotic, you will know that you are neurotic. Like, you will know in your daily life. So there's no personality type test that needs to tell you that. The compatibility theory is total BS. The whole theory about N types should be with other N types, S types should be with other S types is total BS, okay? Total bullshit. I know where it comes from. I know why they say that. If you look at MBTI and the 16 personalities from this very superficial angle where you only look at the dichotomies, which are intuition, sensing, introversion, extroversion, feeling, thinking, perceiving, and judging, then okay, I could understand why you would think, okay, I guess being similar would be good, right? However, in practice, it is inaccurate, okay? Once again, if you only look at it at a very superficial angle, it might work for you because also the way how intuition is described, it basically just means intelligence, unfortunately. I also made a video about this, yeah. Unfortunately, people often just think that intuition means intelligence and being open-minded. Once again, another thing from the Big Five. Thank you, Big Five. Being open to experience, being open to, I don't know, art, is considered N for some reason, even though art itself can be very S-leaning, sensing, sensorial, right? So, whatever. So basically, people who are intelligent and who are open-minded are gonna mistype as N, whatever their real type is in the Jungian system. Of course, being with another open-minded and intelligent person is gonna be a good match for you, right? Well, yeah, so I get that, but when we look at the functions, the cognitive functions, and how they match up, it's more about the values of the functions. I'm not going to go into detail in this video, it's going to be too much. I've also talked about that in other content of mine. Extroversion is not sociability. I've also made videos and articles about this, and this is still something that is often wrong in a lot of the systems, especially with MBTI and the 16 personalities, and even worse in Big Five, in my opinion. People who are actual introverts often get an extroverted or extraverted result in the Big Five simply because they are sociable. They maybe understand social cues well, or they know how to be gregarious, aka to amp it up emotionally, to be like, hey guys, you know, like, so I think this is also, maybe this is a bit of a bad stereotype, but you know, a lot of gay people who amp up their emotionality like this are often mistyped as extroverts, even though they are just introverts who know how to act social. The thing is, actually, especially SF types are the most sociable people, believe it or not. The most social people in the conventional sense when it comes to culture, etc. They are the most influential socially oftentimes as well. So SF types, even the introverts. Extroversion is actually about your outlook and where your cognitive function is focused or where it comes from. And also, to some extent, energy levels and expressiveness and things like that tie into it as well. The thing is, introverts can fake being extroverts. They can amp up their extroverted functions, their extroverted side. Everyone has both sides in them. I think, generally speaking, if you're unsure if you're an introvert or extrovert, just look at what would you be faking more? Like trying to be highly energetic, very talkative, very loud, or very expressive, or, you know, is that something you have to fake? Or would you have to fake being quiet, having low energy, having a low tone of voice, being slow, toning it down basically? Then you are most likely actually an extrovert. Yeah, it's really like this. Like, extroverts usually are told, can you tone it down a little bit? Or like, people want to tell them, can you tone it down? Whereas with introverts, it's often more the opposite, where it's like, are you okay? Can you amp it up a little bit? Now, of course, if someone has social anxiety, then they might also mistype as introverted, because if you have social anxiety, you're going to be more inhibited. So yeah, if you have social anxiety, don't just look at, okay, how do you behave in a social situation, because you might be very socially inhibited. You might be just too anxious for your true personality to come out. So maybe if you can find ways to observe or see how your energy and expressiveness and your outlook is when you are not anxious, that might be a better indicator. Introverted functions or introverted outlook is more about how do you feel, how I think, how I experience. You know, there's always like this subjective component to it that cannot be divorced from you. Extroverts, yes, okay, at the end of the day, we are all subjects, so we are all having a bit of a subjective component to us, but extroverts are really, in comparison, much more quote-unquote objective. They tend to be much more focused on the object, on the external. This is for those of you who are really into the theory, okay? I think Socionics is superior, but Socionics is not perfect and also has its flaws. I take from both systems and from my own experience and observations, and I try to describe the types and give advice in a way that is the closest to our current reality, you could say. And yeah, I just try to find the best of both worlds. Yeah, what can I say? Best of both worlds. Yeah, anyway, yeah, well, and I see that MBTI has a certain angle and Socionics has a certain angle. So I like to combine the two and focus on what seems to be the most valuable and the most accurate. I personally don't see a problem with that. I think we are all just trying to describe the same phenomenon. So, all right, this video is way too long. I hope you liked it. Share with me in the comments what you think. Maybe you have some other unpopular opinions. And I probably have forgotten some that I have, but these are like the top ones that came to mind. So yeah, all right. Hope you have a good day and see you next time. Bye.